Right, welcome back in the game room. I have brought out my ruin again, this time to illustrate another point about ruins and dense terrain and cover and how they interact with shooting. So, we have here a situation. I have a German unit sitting in a ruin. 3 of them are outside the ruin and the rest, the 4 others, are in the ruin. And I have a British SAS unit that has moved up to the German unit. Now, the rules state, and I'm quoting here from page 55 and 57 of the rulebook, that if 50% or more of this unit can see 50% or more of the target unit without cover, then they don't get cover. So in this situation, all of my unit can see 3 of his units, but those 3 are not 50% or more, which means that the German unit gets cover. Now, how much cover does it get? Well, that depends on the kind of cover. It never depends on how much of the unit is covered or anything else. It depends on the type of cover that they get. In this case, it is ruin. That means hard cover. So the Brits would here be shooting with hard cover. Now, going the other way. What if it was the Germans shooting at the Brits? Well, again, it says, if at least 50% of the shooters in the firing unit can draw a clear line of sight to at least 50% of the models in the target unit, they are not in cover. And this becomes significant because 3 of the Germans can see more than 50% of the British unit, right, if they were shooting back. These 2 Germans can also see all of the British unit because they are 1 inch from the edge. If you're within 1 inch of the edge of an area terrain, you don't count as being in the area terrain. You're looking out. Your rifle is poking out. So these guys can also shoot, which means that 5 of the Germans can see my unit of Brits. They can shoot without me getting cover. These 2 guys just go along with the rest of the unit. There will be no cover for them as well because it's the whole unit that gets to shoot if it's more than 50%. So that is how that works. If, on the other hand, these Germans had been standing, let's say, further back in the ruin, can you see what I did? I placed them further into the ruin. Now they will be shooting through lots of ruin. So the 2 front Germans, they can still see all of my unit, but most of the German unit is shooting through more than 1 inch of ruin, which means that more than 50% of the shooting German unit shoots through cover, which means that I get cover. So that's something to think about when you're placing your units. Where do you want them to be? Like, a good place to stand in area terrain is always along the edge, like less than 1 inch from the edge with most of your unit, because that means that you can shoot out of the cover without giving cover to your enemies, right? So, let's go back to the first situation here. Right, this was the first situation, right? 3 Germans outside, 2 on the edge, and 2 inside. Now, the Germans get the first dice. My Brits have moved up. They've been shooting at long range. The Germans get the first dice. They are ready to shoot. So, the Germans here have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 men. 1 of them has an HMG. So, HMG, 6 rifles. And they are shooting at point blank range. This is below 6 inches. This is 4.5. So, and there's no cover because we just figured out that everyone can see. These 2 just goes along with more than half of the unit. So basically, I'm hit on a 3. So the Germans, they get 5 hits. Now my SAS, they are veterans, so they die on a 5. 2 of them are hit and are killed. Basically, both of them by the SMG-wielding NCO of the Germans. So, I remove 2. One of them could be special, and is. So, that is my NCO that gets the bullet. Then, on the Brits' turn, they get the dice. The Brits take a test. They have 1 pin from being hit before, and then they have lost their NCO, so 2 pins. They still make it because they're veteran. So 2 pins would mean a 7 on the result, and they have 10, so that's still good. They shoot back. The Germans are still in cover because more than 50% of the unit is in cover for more than 50% of my unit. Which means that I have 5 Brits shooting back. Each of them has an SMG. Let me see if I can find that many dice. There we go. That is 10 dice. Now, the Germans are in hard cover. That makes it, lets it go from a 3 to a 4 to a 5, right? But we're on point blank range, which brings it down to a 4 again. So I'm shooting on 4. Ooh, that was some nice shots. Now, the Germans are regulars, so they will die on a 4. They don't get extra protection from the ruin, because it's not a house, it's just a ruin. And 3 of the Germans gets killed. Now, what does the German player do here? In my opinion, what he has to do is remove 2 of the Germans outside, 1 of them inside, still making sure that the closest German to the Brits is one in terrain, because if the Brits charge, they will have to go closest to closest. So they're charging into terrain. Of course, they could move outside later on and shoot them from there, right? So that was the tactical situation. That was the firefight. The Brits got, well, 3 Germans were killed and 2 Brits, but the Brits being veteran, I think that the Germans had the better of that exchange. So yeah, that is how you work ruins and shooting. Cool. Cheers. Bye.